There we go. Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. My name is Courtney. I am a training specialist here at VanHack. And today we are going to be joined by Billy from Stradigi AI. We're going to talk about best practices for getting hired through a VanHack event. I know some of you may have taken part in the Women in Tech event that just wrapped up, and we have the Senior Developer event coming up in mid-November. I forget the exact dates right now, but we're hoping that many of you will join that, and with some of the tips that Billy's going to share with us, hopefully get hired through the event. So, Billy, can you just quickly let us know who you are and tell us a bit about yourself and Stradigi AI?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Courtney, for the intro. My name is Billy Castrantis. I am here in Montreal, so based in Montreal. I am a lead talent acquisition specialist in talent attraction, as well as somebody that kind of oversees employer brand for my current employer, which is Stradigi AI. It's an artificial intelligence company here in Montreal that has a platform, a SaaS platform called Kepler. Sorry to use the term, but I call it data science in a box. I am not on the development side, so I like to say we cater to companies that have data and want to better understand their data to make better business decisions. And so far it's doing great. A smaller company, of course. In my past, I've worked for major corporations. I've worked for companies where we were responsible for hiring 400 people a year with offices around the world. I've worked for government. I've been in the field of HR, so my background is in human resources. Graduated 2015, 16 in human resources, and I jumped into talent attraction because I'm somebody that likes to exchange with people. I like to help people. I like to chat with people, and I like to meet people. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And how did you get involved with VanHack? How long have you been partnered with us?
I would say probably 2018. I jumped on board pre-pandemic. We had met with a few of the organizers in the early stages of VanHack, and they had done a few in-house live events here in Montreal at the Notman House. And I'm more of a kind of a tech junkie in a way. Like I like to find out new stuff. I'm always online. I'm looking for new articles to read or whatever. And it came across that I found this event, and I like to make literally to cater to events myself. Like I like to, create my own, organize my own, throw my own events, participate in events, because I think it's a great way to learn about people. And so I met them at the Notman House, and funny enough, we hired somebody that night, and we did it in what I call like Billy style. So we showed up there with a backpack, welcoming the person. They hadn't even signed yet, but we were so confident. We had spoken to them, we had interviewed them, we loved them so much, and that was my first experience with VanHack. I think it was with Stephanie, who some of you might know from VanHack, and we got to build a relationship with them and their candidates. So it was great, and we keep supporting it.
Wow, that's great. It's really great to hear from somebody who's had a longer term relationship with VanHack, especially when you've switched companies as well, and you've kept us in mind. So thank you. So speaking about the event that you had participated in, that was an in-person event. Have you done any of the virtual events with VanHack?
Yeah, we've done the virtual events as well. Obviously, with the pandemic, things slowed down. I actually saw it as a great opportunity because I think a lot of employers, obviously, there was less hiring happening, which is normal. Companies were kind of revisiting, their what they need in terms of human resources. The ones that were still hiring, there was a crunch, right? There was a lot of available talent early on. Example, people are being let go or furloughed or so on. But then as companies started wrapping up, we're seeing that there's a talent crunch. So yes, I did participate in a few VanHack events recently, virtually. Actually, not going to lie, 2 people already started with us in the last 3 months, I think, and working on some more. So yeah, the virtual events are just as fun and as interesting. And I think for the candidates that are watching today, it's a great opportunity because you don't always have that chance to be local or the opportunity to travel, to meet face to face. So it really opens a door for everybody, I kind of find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And then from your perspective, while you were participating in the event, how did that go in terms of the networking with the candidates? Like, did you find that most people were prepared, or
it's a 50-50.
There was a bit of work?
It's a 50-50. I'll say this, right? It depends on the type of company, the type of recruitment agency,
Hmm.
recruiter, talent specialist that's there that day. I know that I connected with a few people from the so different. I'll give you different stages. Some people, because it's such a short period of time. Example, that
Hmm.
speed networking style. Um, you really need to take advantage of that. So I connected with a few people right away, and I knew I wanted to chat with them again, and I would always take notes. And funny enough, I'll share what I was taking notes of in a few minutes when we deep dive a little bit, because you'll be like, wow, that's, I'm sure people on this conversation, it'll come in handy down the line. But with other
Exactly.
people, some people actually took it. It, it depends on how you feel about that. Some people reached out to me on LinkedIn because we
Hmm.
didn't have a chance to talk because time is of the essence, as they say. I appreciated that. A lot of people might not as well,
Hmm.
but I networked with the people that I saw that were available and that fit into what we needed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we do encourage individuals. So in our last event, there were some folks that couldn't connect. So we did encourage them to reach out on LinkedIn, because a lot of the recruiters and hiring managers that were there posted their LinkedIns in the chat line for so
Absolutely.
people could reach out. But I think there's the balance there too on how to approach someone on LinkedIn in an effective way. And I guess we can probably talk about that in a bit. Um,
Hmm.
but there's definitely a wrong way to do that, right? So
I got a
we'll
few wrong ways, and we'll look at
yeah,
the we'll look at what could work better. But absolutely,
exactly.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
So I'm just gonna keep going through some of my questions
absolutely,
here, and
sure.
then we'll have more of a, I guess, informal conversation after. But did you? So I know you've hired folks through VanHack. Were any of those because of the event or events that you've taken part in?
Yes, obviously, I would say primarily all of my hiring through VanHack has been through events. I
Okay.
have kind of looked at the platform, and I
Hmm.
think we are where there's somebody in the pipeline to be hired from the platform, because the platform is a great place to go. It's kind of like an extra ATS. So even if there was a
Hmm.
company here today, I would recommend to companies, and I have friends that work in smaller industry or everything, and I do recommend not just VanHack, certain other players in the industry and say, well, if they open their door to their candidate pool, you should definitely go and look at it, right?
Hmm.
Because
Exactly.
uh, to me, Van Hack itself, like the candidate putting his profile on there, is probably the first and most important thing to do, right?
Hmm.
Because I'll give you an example. I'm looking for a backend Node.js. The first thing I'm going to do is type in Node.js for a keyword, and I'm going to look at everybody that comes up. Then I'm going to
Exactly.
look at years of experience or industry or whatever the other keywords are, right? Because you might not be at that event. So I think the
Hmm.
platform is a great place for any company to go and be like, oh, let me explore. I'm sold on it because I've had two hires from in-person events. I think we're
Hmm.
at three with the virtual events, which is great because you're meeting people and you're exchanging live, call it that.
Yeah.
But I believe that, definitely the whole scope of OnAct, definitely put your profile on there. Funny enough, one gentleman that we're hiring, or at least we're talking to, hadn't really logged in about 4 months until I hit
Oh
him up.
wow.
And he's like, well, I was active, but then I kind of wasn't unactive because I took a
Hmm.
contract. And then he's like, I saw your message. Can we still talk? And he hit me up about 3 or 4 weeks after the event, actually. So I went into
Okay.
the platform looking for more people
Hmm.
with that profile. So I always say maybe try to also, be maybe active on the Van Ack platform and try and
Exactly.
keep it up to date. If you've done something new, I would definitely say I like
Hmm.
to know, like, what are you still working with this technology or not? And if you are, that helps me out to make a better decision.
Exactly. And I think, I mean, that's awesome that you reached out to somebody who hadn't been active in so long. But
Mhm.
I think that that's probably not the norm,
Right,
right?
right.
If if I'm looking to hire somebody, and maybe there's, let's say I've narrowed it down to three people that I might reach out to, and the one hasn't logged in a few months, I'm likely going to reach out to the other ones first, right?
Absolutely.
So it is important to still be logging into your profile, even if maybe you're not necessarily super actively looking at that moment. I
Yeah.
would still recommend logging in every 1-2 weeks, just
Well,
so it
that's what happened.
pings it,
That
right?
that's what happened, Courtney. I wrote the person off. I was like, "We're done.
Yeah.
We moved on." And funny enough, that person came back to me. Now, it's not everybody that has, it depends on how active the company is, and
Hmm.
we were actively looking for more than one person at the time. So, but it was a missed opportunity. So I
Exactly.
fully agree with you. Like, these are opportunities that I hate to say it, but sometimes will come around once in a lifetime. So
Yeah.
being active, being, proactive, and being like, am I on this? Are there any, opportunities there? Should I be sharpening up my profile? Yes, 100%, because you don't want to be like the gentleman. You might not want to be the one that,
Hmm.
example, like, I didn't see it, right? I'm happy that we
Exactly.
connected, him and I, but just to say, do you want to miss out that opportunity because it might not come around again, right?
Exactly. And I think a lot of people too, if they see a message and it was sent a few weeks ago, they may not even think to respond at that point. They'll just be, oh, they've probably moved on.
Exactly.
So what that guy did was great. He still shot a shot basically and was like,
Yes.
hey, maybe they will still respond to me.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend to any candidates, if you do come across something like that, still respond, always respond. Because like honestly, the worst that's going to happen is that they say, sorry, we filled the role. Um, right?
That's
But
yes, that's
if they
pretty much it.
didn't, if they didn't, then maybe they will still give you an opportunity. So
Exactly, and I'm happy that it worked out, and I'm pretty sure the candidate is as well, right? No matter what the
mhm,
outcome will be, it's always being proactive is the key to hiring with VanHack. Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, so now I want to kind of do a bit of a more deep dive into the
Sure.
types of questions that
Sure.
you've asked candidates during a speed networking event.
Sure.
Um, so
Well,
what are you looking
so
for there? Like, what are
we're
you
going to
asking?
separate it, right? We're going to separate it because
Mhm.
I remember one of my colleagues and I we did the first VanHack, right? So when we got there, showed up with our welcome package, and we wanted to hire some people, and the questions will be different when you're in person. Okay, let's
Yes.
leave that. Let's separate that right off the bat. So if ever you're doing an in-person interview, um, we have to look at it like it's more approachable, more personal. We can, there's no timer. It's not like you're at the event and somebody's behind you with a stopwatch and saying, "All right, let me pull you away now." Um, a few questions that I like to always ask is, you know, tell me about yourself, or what brings you here,
Hmm.
why. And one thing that I think candidates keep missing on, and again, please have your own style, is people tend to really run off, and we must always
Hmm.
remember that it's 5 to 7 minutes, right? And first impressions matter, right?
Yes.
And so a lot of times I'll be like, "Hi, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for taking the time." And this is me being honest. I nice to meet you. Thanks for
Hmm.
coming to join us. I'd love to hear more about you. And I've even used this line in my interviews. I tell people, take a minute or two and introduce yourself to the team, right? Try and buy into what we're trying to say. Take a minute or two and introduce yourself into the team, because when you give out too much, you're cutting in on the time,
Hmm.
and so I can't even get to my next question. Would be, what stock do you work with, or are you, as a lead, what's your team, or what is the ideal job for you, right? What happens is, if on that one question, if you burn 4 minutes by telling me your day to day, like at 8:01 I had scrum meeting, at 8:02 we looked at tickets, and then it's 4 minutes in, and literally you've told me about what your day to day. That's about it, but you haven't told me why you're programming still, what type of industry you prefer to be in, whether it be fintech, or is it SaaS, or is it um, e-commerce, or is it just streaming platforms. These are things that are interesting, because I'm in a SaaS platform that's AI. If you tell me, listen, I work for remotely for another competitor of yours, or not even a competitor, somebody that's in AI again and is very focused on this and that, I'm going to listen. I'm going to hit that button that says, I want to talk to you again.
Hmm.
Right. So take that into consideration. People will ask those questions, like, tell me a little bit about yourself. Take a minute. Don't burn your time, because it's limited. Right.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's a big
that,
one.
oops, I'm dropping my AirPods. I'm throwing them now.
Take, take,
Okay.
take your time. I know it's a
Take
great
my time.
conversation. So,
I'm so excited. I need to
of
throw
course,
away my
of
audio.
course, of
Um,
course.
so what I was trying to say there is that is your elevator pitch.
Yes.
So when we are doing prep work, prep classes for upcoming events, please take advantage of those, especially the elevator pitch class. Pay attention in the Slack channels, because we are sharing tips there as well. Because nerves can get the best of anybody. And you
Absolutely.
can just, some people tend to ramble a lot, right? And
Yes.
then I've seen candidates who, instead of talking for too long don't talk long enough, and they don't give you
Yeah.
enough information, right? So there is a good balance,
Well,
and
I'll
it's
give you
important to
a tip.
practice, right?
I'll give you a tip actually, and you can do this. One of the things is be prepared with a question to all candidates here. Be prepared with a question that isn't exactly focused on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Be prepared with the question of, and again, something that the recruiter can answer quickly too, because you don't want them spending 4 hours telling you about, all the fun activities we have and we went to our Christmas parties held here. And, something that's very direct to you that's important as well. Like, um, how many women are in the company, or what type of, what does the structure look like, or something very simple, something like how long has the product been around, or
Mm-hmm.
uh, why are you looking remotely, the answer could be, why am I looking remotely? Because there's a talent crunch right now, or we all know there's visa sponsorship and this and that, but be like, I'm looking for a long-term commitment kind of thing. Is that something that the company's interested in? Because as
Mm-hmm.
a company as well, that we are looking at that too. I mean, you're coming into, I mean, I'm not in this position. I'm very lucky that I'm not the one that will be relocating. So this is a huge life decision as well when we're talking with
Exactly.
companies at VanHack, or vice versa, right? I'm talking to somebody, I take into consideration that. So have that one question that might be a little more personal. Why do you enjoy working at that company? And
Mm-hmm.
again, if you have the time. So if you're somebody that really is a direct kind of, you're stuck there with 3 minutes with nothing to say, um, it kind of, that it makes it awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to take into consideration, and this is a big one. um, I've noticed this a lot throughout the event, let's say, is if you don't have the skill, it's tough for a company to really move on, and it makes
Mm-hmm.
for an awkward situation. um, Definitely know who you're speaking to, in terms of organization. And many times, I know with Courtney, or with even with Steph and the other Van Hack organizers, we've given in, like, what is the stack we work with.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not somebody that's, very, very versed in Angular, which we use on the front end example, and when I say versed, like almost day to day, 80% of your time, be aware of that, because you're hurting your chances more than anything. Because you're saying, well, I'll talk to Billy and I'll impress him and this and that. Right. But at the end of the day, there's a tech team behind me that also makes a decision. And for them, the decision, especially when we're looking at candidates to bring forward, again, I try to tell everybody, you need to stand out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that know your audience. And when you get there, you know, asking me if we use Node.js, you're going to get a very simple, yes, we do. That's our main stack with Express Framework. You're not going to go any further. I'm not the technical guy.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that this is more of a conversation. Consider it almost a meeting when you're going to buy something at a store. You're walking in, you're having a brief conversation with the retail clerk. You're trying to buy that shirt. They're there to ring you up, give you a hello, goodbye, and you leave with something. Consider it that. Usually that's a 5 to 7 minute process.
Mm-hmm.
I want people today on VanHack to think about it that way, because I had other people that I know use the platform and hire from their other companies. And we're all looking at the same thing. If you fit in our tech stack, that's one thing. We know. We see your CV. I know that you put Node.js. That's why I really want to talk to you. But let's talk about you for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, why are you on the VanHack platform? Why are you looking to go? What what motivates you? What do you do on your spare time? I ask that question a lot. What do you do on your spare time? Or what are you doing
Yeah.
right? What are you learning in technology right now? And you might
Mm-hmm.
say Python. I'll be like, great, that's interesting. We kind of do that kind of stuff. So yeah, like just remember it. Courtney's right. I think you're right. People are nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit of a blobber myself, so I nervous is not my thing. But if you are somebody that's nervous, um, focus on the fact that, don't make it feel like it's a technical thing. It's not a technical thing. If there's a recruiter on here trying to drill you technically, I feel bad, because I think it's not the right place. I think they should get to know your strong suit, and you should be like,
Mm-hmm.
um, "Hi, Courtney. I'm Billy, and I'm a talent acquisition specialist. I have 6 years of experience. I'm versed in recruiting for multiple different technologies, front end and back end, as well as AI, and so on and so forth. I lead a team right now of X people. I've been in the industry for a while, and my growth plan is to one day lead further, and I'm looking to get into a stable and long term company. If you want to be more rigid, that is a perfect way to present yourself. And then I would love to ask you a question. Oh, that's great. You lead a team. How many people? And you'll be like, 2 people. And I oversee their day-to-day, blah, blah, blah. So it's normal that some people are more talkative, others are less. Those that are less, focus on your strengths. But remember, one key thing, and I'm going to probably repeat this throughout this whole conversation with Courtney, please don't ramble on. You have 5 minutes, 7 minutes sometimes. We can have a discussion at a later time, but are you going to get to that point? Because the recruiter might say, Courtney rambles on too much, or she doesn't fit exactly what I need and doesn't fit the culture of the company, because that's something that's important too.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
Like everything else, right? Culture is big right now, and you have to fit into the company culture. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that when Billy had mentioned, if you don't necessarily fit what the company is looking for, so if they're looking for somebody that can do Angular and you don't have that, that is kind of one thing in these networking events that it randomly pairs you. So if you do end up in that little room with somebody and you don't necessarily align in terms of tech stacks and skill sets, it is completely okay to say, it was really great meeting you.
Yes.
However, I know that this, let's end this call so we can both meet somebody who's more in line with what we can do.
Exactly.
And then you aren't wasting 5-7 minutes of your own time where you could have been paired with another company, and the company isn't wasting 5 to 7 minutes of their time where they could be talking to other candidates that meet what they need. So it is completely okay to politely excuse yourself.
100%.
Obviously, you don't want to just hang up. That's rude. But it's completely okay to say something along the lines of, I see that
I don't think I'm a right
looking
fit
for this.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm the right fit. Thank you for participating in this. I hope you meet somebody who
Can I touch on that for a second, Courtney?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Here's why you should do that. Previous company I worked at, Java PHP. New company I work at, Node.js, Angular. What happens? Thank you, Billy. Unfortunately, I don't fit in Angular and Node.js. Billy goes to another company that does PHP example. I'm back at an event. You come up, let's chat. Or if I, saw your profile, because we do see, your kind of your profile, call it that. If you just say, sorry, you know what, I'm more of a PHP expert, Laravel framework, I'm using these databases, or good talent acquisition people keep these things in the file folders, right? We know, because that's, if I see that you have 10 years experience and you're a PHP person, example, politely saying, look, I don't fit in your mold right now, but I might change jobs in a year from now or in a week from now and be back on the VanHack, next event or whatever it is, and think of you, or go and find you within that candidate profile that we were talking about earlier in the ATS. So definitely remember that. And to Courtney's point, 100%. I mean, if you're sitting there 5 minutes, we're talking about sports or something like that. I mean, it's unfortunate more for you than for me, because that other employer that you should be meeting might have been paired with you, but you lost your time there. So yeah, very good point on and Courtney saying that too, right? Politely, and always mention why. Don't be like, I don't fit in the mold. No, be like, I'm more of a professional with this stack, primarily focusing with this database, front end, back end technology, and work with that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just watching the time. So we do have some more time for me to ask you some questions, and then we're just going to let you go. Sure. And then we will open up and ask anybody that's watching if they have questions, probably in about 10, 15 minutes. So keep that in mind, folks, that you will have an opportunity to ask us questions. So is there so we've talked about this a little bit. We've touched on how candidates have kind of hurt their chances of getting that next step interview call. Can you just share an example of some things that have happened there?
Some of the things that have happened is things where the call, the actual initial is too rigid. It drifts off. Hello, Courtney. Nice to meet you. Thanks so much. And I'm Billy. That's who I am. I'm a very open guy. I love to laugh. I like to be myself, and I'm just a human being. I'm like you. You're a developer. I'm talent. Doesn't matter. Let's have a chat. And some people really, it could be nerves, but I don't just attribute it to nerves all the time. People need to understand that the initial conversation that you're having with VanHack, which sometimes might be an engineer, don't get me wrong. Some companies do want to bring a talent acquisition specialist and an engineer. Primarily, it's mostly talent acquisition. If you just jump in right away and hello, my name is Billy, and this morning I woke up and I had breakfast at 8:02, and then I, went to the bathroom, and then I did, and you give me a rundown. You're reading your CV to me. And if I really want to see your CV, I probably did, or I'll probably look at your profile on LinkedIn, which I like to do before the event. So what you're doing there is you are not telling me who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving me a piece of paper, but you're literally verbally telling me. And so a lot of companies, I'm not going to lie, are not interested in that. Because while you're doing that, they're fitting you into their culture. And I'm speaking from experience with more than just Stradigi AI. So try to remember that. Again, don't come on, say hello, and start talking about yesterday's dinner, but be mindful of the conversation that you're the same way you'd be speaking to a friend. And I think that if you put that into perspective, is that's the way that we're looking to approach these conversations with candidates. As in, I've been on calls where I'm not going to lie, I've got off, I went, no, doesn't work. Because
Mm-hmm.
I can't see us having a conversation. I cannot see you sitting with your peers from various backgrounds of around the world, some with restrictions on communication, and having an easy conversation, whether it be tech or whether it be planning or whether it be lunch. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that it's a conversation. Conversation is king, and to me, it's the first thing that whether people talk about it in my field or not, it is communication is a big, big, big step of getting hired.
Yes,
Okay,
100%.
it is. I mean, in everything, and it's very important because you might be the next lead of the company you're going into, and they need to make sure that if that's the case, you have to communicate. Because, and again, I'm going to speak to experience. Things that I've seen people fail is just people ramble on to the point where they're even not giving. One of the things I would kind of highly recommend is if I, not myself alone, like if anybody, the vagueness, right? Like just blurting out, going left field completely, and you're like, but the question was really simple. So, to all the developers here today, the same as when you do tests, when companies give you tests. I told somebody this week, I said, don't overthink it. It's not what you think. I get it. Everybody wants to do more and wants to do better, but sometimes trying to do more or thinking you should do better actually hurts you because sometimes it's really simple. Sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
like you. We like you. So don't shoot yourself in the foot, as they say. But yeah, I mean, I've seen that too, where people try to do more. So, scale it
Exactly.
back. That's some of the things I would say I've seen that have turned our company off completely to say communication, really left field, like, very direct, like, what brings you here? Why are you, oh, I'm working remotely for a US based company. I'm looking to
Mm-hmm.
relocate or I'm looking to take on more responsibility. Great. When you start, left fielding it, and my buddy told me to come out and I don't know what I'm looking at. Oh, I can do that. We can all do many things, but, limited time, as I say.
Exactly. And I just want to touch on a point here.
Sure.
In terms of when candidates are answering that, like, hey, can you tell me a bit about yourself? I have seen a lot of individuals then start by jumping right into where they went to school. And please don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't
Don't
do
do
that.
it.
You are so right.
You're a professional person. You have been in the field for probably 4 or 5 plus years at this
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter where you
No.
completed your schooling anymore. The most important thing is, especially in a networking event, say your name first. So, hi, my
Yes.
name is Courtney,
Yes.
because they don't know who you are.
Correct.
They haven't set up an interview with you yet.
Correct.
So, say your
How to
name.
pronounce it, right? That's one of the big ones. I'm like, and I
Exactly.
asked them, I'm like, how do you say your name? Because I'm transparent and I say, I don't want to goof it up.
Mhm.
I don't want to mispronounce your name, right?
Exactly.
But you're right. Well, it goes back to Courtney, what you're saying now to the candidates that are here today. It's that robotic blurting of
Mhm.
people coming out and just jumping on that. Hi, I have a master's degree and my PhD is in this.
Yep.
Fantastic, but that doesn't mean I'm going to hire you, because if I
Exactly.
show you my 100 applicants a day, sometimes everybody's got one. Like if I was
Hmm.
just hiring on PhD, I wouldn't be doing Van Hacks, right? So
Exactly.
definitely, yeah. Again, be yourself. Those are some things that we will get to in the interview about
Hmm.
your education and so on. Yeah.
Exactly. It's so important to be, as I like to say, as personable as you can be.
Yes. Yes.
And I get nervous still in interviews. And I like to practice before I go in and maybe write out my elevator pitch or how I would answer certain questions. But you never want to kind of come across that you're reading something off of the screen, right?
Right.
So you don't want to be, as Billy has mentioned multiple times, you don't want to be robotic in the way you're speaking. So practice. If you're nervous, well, practice anyways. It's really important to practice, but still leave yourself room for kind of back and forth conversation as well.
Of course. Of course. Absolutely. It's important, because this is what we're looking for, right? And it goes back to, if you're going to just read me your CV, that's wonderful. I mean, it's important. I get it,
Mm-hmm.
and we should invest in time. But I'll even talk about that. Like, CVs. A lot of people don't recognize the fact that, yeah, it's great to tell me what you know what to do, but when you tell me in bullet point form every single thing that you might have seen, a lot of talent acquisition specialists like myself are not interested in those profiles. We will skip over those profiles, because
Mm-hmm.
if you tell me that, maybe once upon a time you used Postgres once, or you still put it on a bullet point, doesn't mean you're an expert at it. It means you
Mm-hmm.
saw it once. I once went to Ottawa, but I won't. I might have drove by it. I won't say I lived there, right? So it's
Exactly.
something to consider, right? Sorry for the analogy, but I'm just trying to make sure that people understand. It goes back to,
Oh, of course.
be yourself. Don't blurt it out. Don't give me everything on minute one, right? Because,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those are some of the things, again, that don't do, or you know be yourself. Key thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you go in hot in that first 1 to 2 minutes with everything about yourself, why does the why does that other person want to continue a conversation? Right?
Exactly.
You've given up all the goods.
Exactly.
There's nothing else that they need to know now. So it's, yeah, you want to hold some stuff back a bit so they're interested in getting to know more.
And being prepared. I mean, one of the questions that where it's turned me off is, I'll come to people and I'll say, well, you know, we'll look at the title, or the person literally gives me the goods right up front, right? And it'll be like, well, I'm the lead of this example, and I'll say, well, thank you. You've given me your current title, and then I'll say, well, is that a big team? How many people are you leading?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you enjoy leading people? And then I'll be like, well, I'm more of on the senior side, so I'm the unofficial lead and all that. When you're doing things like that, what you're doing to somebody like myself, who's in my profession, after 5-6 years of literally spending, doing thousands of interviews, is I sit there and I say, hold on a second. You told me you did this, but then I asked you about it, but you're not quite doing that.
Mm-hmm.
This is why it hurts your chances. And don't read your CV. Be yourself. Just say, hello, my name is so and so. This is my role. And leave it open. Because when we will interview you, if we interview you, you can then go and say, I'm the lead unofficially because I'm waiting for my promotion, or
Mm-hmm.
because technically we don't really have a lead on the team, because that's not part of our matrix of how the company works, right? Like some places go, right, there's no director, example. So, don't shoot yourself in the foot, because at that point, I'll sit back and say, well, you told me A, now you're saying B,
Mm-hmm.
right? So again, these are not big things. These aren't the things, oh my God, like, should I practice this at night in front of the mirror? It's just, know what you do, because only you know what you do, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
your job. And be able to summarize it. If I were to say something, if you're going to stand in front of the mirror, if you're going to sit with a relative and practice it, summarize what you do in 30 seconds. You're going to say, well, that's not long enough. I know. Give yourself a minute, but try and do it in 30 seconds. Because if you can do it
That's
in
great
40,
advice.
well, that's it. Like, give yourself a minute, but do it in 30 seconds. Because if you go over, it's okay. You still have a minute,
Mm-hmm.
right? But find what makes you matter most, right? Like, I've gotten 3 promotions in the last 2 years of my company, because I was able to scale up from a junior to intermediate, to eventually my goal is to be elite, right? throw in one of those, here and there, like when you're introducing yourself, or a little bit later down the line. But yeah, I definitely do. If you have an opportunity, I've actually offered this to friends of mine that were looking for jobs. I said, call me up. We'll have a fake interview.
Exactly. Yeah. And okay, so right there, fake interview. So when you're chosen for an event or you're in an interview process at VanHack, we do offer mock interviews, and that is quote unquote a fake interview or a practice interview.
Yep.
So take advantage of that, because you will get real time feedback on how you're responding to answers or how you're coming across. I've seen feedback given based on, like your background and your lighting, just those little things that make
internet connection. Internet connection's a big one. Definitely, definitely.
And that's
focus
not
on
something
that.
We can always control, right?
Correct. Try and know, Courtney. I'm gonna add to that. If you know that there's a VanHack event happening, and this isn't for everybody, so trust me, I will not hold it against you. But where it hurts your chances is the fact that, well, if we're having 5 to 7 minutes and it happened, 5.5 minutes are cut, doesn't log, I got to move on. Exactly. And you can hit me up on LinkedIn later, but all I'm going to do later is check out your LinkedIn profile. And if you don't hit those key marks that I'm looking for, I'll be like, thank you so much, but unfortunately your profile doesn't fit. So remember that, right? Try and find a cafe, I don't hotspot, whatever you're going to do to really not ruin your chances. And sometimes you can't, right? Sometimes you really can't, but sometimes you have no choice, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that actually, that happened to me while I was in my interview process with VanHack. My internet, the entire neighborhood went down.
Oh my!
Right as I logged into my second round interview, and I freaked out. Obviously, I'm like, what do I do? So I grabbed my phone and I just rejoined the Zoom meeting on my phone. Luckily, my data plan is decent enough to do that. But I think that was maybe one of the things that made them remember me, was that I troubleshooted that. Right. So it's a good tip, though, if your internet connection may be unstable, trying to find a cafe or a hotspot or something along those lines to try to mitigate that as an issue when you're in an interview.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's important, right? It's one of the things that you want to be focusing on. And I think people should, again, everything to make it smooth. And you can't control things, but if you can, try and be prepared. And mock interviews, just to finish with the mock interviews, please take advantage of that, because it's just, I'm telling you, it's a great opportunity to have. I mean, you get to practice. And I once was applying on a job. Actually, somebody headhunted me for a job. And funny enough, I didn't get the job. I wasn't too upset, but a recruiter, so somebody in my field, not even a friend, somebody who I met, said, you did good. She goes, but you had long tail answers. She goes, you should be conscious of sometimes just keep it a little shorter.
Exactly.
And I appreciated that.
Yeah, because if you're not getting feedback, you're not necessarily going to be aware of where there may be areas to just do even minor tweaks, right? So even as something as simple as, let's just shorten that up a little bit, that is great feedback to be able to incorporate and then move forward and have an outstanding interview, as opposed to maybe like a meh interview.
Yeah, agreed. One more thing. Wait, one more thing. The video interview. Some of you have video recorded messages.
Yes.
Feel free to redo it. Invest another 5 to 10 minutes to redo it, because it's important to, I've seen some where it comes on, it doesn't work right. It's technology. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we are all still even if you're good at technology, but I've seen some that are not that great. Definitely don't be shy. This goes back to the profile thing. I wanted to touch on that. It was one of my notes yesterday because I was looking at videos again yesterday. So please feel free to look into that. Redo it. I know, like, do I have to redo this 10 times? Sadly, yeah, it's your one shot to get through the door. So definitely
redo it as many times as you need to until you're happy with it.
If there's even something that VanHack or somebody else offers that can teach you how to do it properly, better lighting, better this, better that, do it, because it's that I go on and we'll watch this stuff. Like, I'm looking for a DevOps here. I'll tell you guys, I'm looking for a DevOps. I went on VanHack and started looking for DevOps people. So if the video or something's off, just like I said, give yourself as many chances as you can.
Exactly.
Mm.
So, okay. We've actually talked about the question I was going to ask you in terms of how candidates have potentially hurt their chances of getting an interview. Um, but I want to touch on the after the event. So, because we are getting short on time, I want to make
No
sure
problem.
that people have enough time for questions. But so when people are reaching out to you on LinkedIn in
Yes.
particular after an event, what have they done that has impressed you? And on the flip side, what have they done that you're like, oh, no, I'm not answering this?
The ones that have impressed me have been the ones that, again, thank you for your time today. Example, if we did meet, I would love to pick up our conversation again. In case you don't have my CV, here it is. Please, I'd love to talk more about the technology. I'm going to research the company. I can't stress this fact enough. Even though we are in a kind of a buyer's market, seller's market, more candidates have the option. It's important to remember that you need to know who you're talking to. And I get that quite often with candidates, right? Even from VanHack. I'm like, do you know the company? And this is at a later time. And it's like, well, I went and found out. I tell people, and this is, I think, for any company that would be on here today, or even that you're going to meet, or know them, try and know them, because it impresses us. It makes us seem like, okay, you took the time to look into us as well, not just us looking into you, because you want us to look into you. Kind of a two-way street. You should be looking into us and be like, well, I saw that you launched in 2017, and I saw that you're at this funding, and I saw this, and I heard that, or I read that. There's a few candidates that literally went on and went, I watched YouTube videos of Carolina, who's one of our founders here, who's one of our chief scientists. That to me is impressive, because you're investing time into knowing a company that might employ you. Things that I again, flip side is, no, I really didn't, and now it's been a couple of days, right? And I'm like, okay, for me to continue the conversation, you would have to have a brilliant resume and really be somebody that I want to speak to. So that's one of them. Like, do your research. Don't hound the team. It's something that I've kind of walked away from people. It's like, can I hear back? Can I hear back? Can I hear back? We are all busy. Believe me, we are all busy. I've had days where I wish my old mentor was on here today. One of my old directors, where we'd be at the office sometimes from 9 to 9. Right. So we're doing our best to get back to everybody. Sometimes it's not the team's fault. It's not my fault. It's not our team's fault. It's they just haven't reviewed your test yet because something broke and it's costing the company millions, and they're not going to review a test right now. They're going to fix. They're going to try and keep their jobs and fix what they need to do. Right. So, be patient. We're trying our best. And, those are some of the things, like, the constantly hitting people up, it just doesn't work. I mean, it's one thing to follow up. It's fair to follow up. But sometimes it's even to say, like, I totally understand if I don't fit the profile. Sometimes you're just giving that talent acquisition team also an out, and an honest out, to say, you know what, you're right, Courtney. Second, we took a second glance, afterthought, you don't fit the profile. Sadly, you're not there yet. I think that's a better answer than delay. Sure, we'll get back to you, and you're, coming in hot with the questions, and hey, do you want to know, yes or no? Because sometimes it's a no from day one, and the person's just coming in. So yeah, that's the good and the bad. I think I can tell you. I guess. Sorry, I kind of rambled on myself there. But
no, that's okay. So kind of just to going back to doing the research. So I just want to kind of make it a little clear for candidates is
sure.
We don't really expect that you're going to research every single company that is attending a large event. That no one is expecting that of you. When we do expect that you will do the research is after the fact. So as Billy mentioned, if you are going to be sending him or another recruiter a LinkedIn message, quickly look into the company first. Make sure
Yeah.
you actually you're interested in them before you waste your time and their time sending a message. And then, especially if you get an interview request, make sure
Most
you get that
definitely.
research done
Yeah.
before you attend an interview, right?
And to Courtney's point, right? It's so easy. You're sending me a message on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, you're on LinkedIn. Just click on the company's
Exactly.
tile there, the logo, and it'll take you there. And LinkedIn. I have we have our career pages. I oversee a lot of that, the career page and all that. So a lot of the information that's there is relevant. So
Mm-hmm.
you might be like, oh well. Again, I don't need you to give me the life story. And please, folks, when somebody asks you, what do you know about us? We know the company. So reading exactly word for word what you read as the mission statement of the company is just a waste of time, and two, most people in my position will be like, okay, thanks for repeating what you went and so no, that doesn't mean you researched us. You literally going to our website and reading the first sentence does not say research us. That's why I say LinkedIn is great. You're reaching
Mm-hmm.
out to me that way. To Courtney's point, we want to maybe talk to you further. Just go on our LinkedIn page. Be like, oh my God, I saw a post that you guys said, we're supporting Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and just say, well, I saw that, and I saw that you just had a big, your chief information scientist was speaking at a big data conference. Those two little articles will probably take you 2 seconds to go find on LinkedIn, but they're talking points between us that
Exactly.
are not related to I use Node.js because this and that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
definitely goes back to communication, being personable, and know know who you're talking to, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, of
Okay, so I do want to open up for questions. So
course.
quickly, with
Let's
last
do it.
question for Billy is there anything else that you would want to share with everyone, or do you think you've pretty much covered most of what you wanted to hit today?
Um, I would say VanHack's a good platform. I mentioned the video because that's something that's irked me a little bit. Um, Definitely focus. Do not overdo it. It's not a buffet. For those of you that know what a buffet is, for those that don't, please stop putting everything you've ever done. Because I've done things many moons ago in digital marketing that I still use today, but many that I don't. You will not see them on my resume anymore. Stuffing your resume in the end might get me excited to say, oh, let me talk to Courtney. I see this. And then when I speak to Courtney, she'll say, Angular, used it once about 10 years ago. You're out. You just
Mm-hmm.
don't know it, but you're now out. Highlight what you're good at. Highlight what you do every day, because the person looking for that, he's coming after you right away. Like if I go on VanHack, I'm telling you guys, it's Node.js with TypeScript, Angular, and REST and APIs. This is what I'm looking for. Other companies are looking for other things, but that's what they're searching. So highlight that. Don't bury it somewhere else. If there's a way to highlight it through the platform, highlight it. If there's a way
Mm-hmm.
to highlight it when you're speaking to me, highlight it. Right? That is something that I want to leave there because I've done a few of these events and many times, well, yeah, but I'm a quick learner. We're in a position right now as a talent acquisition team globally, not just my company. I think everybody, uh, and many candidates will probably be shaking their head, going, "I agree with Billy right now," saying everybody keeps wanting senior this, senior that, or
Mm-hmm.
give me the most experience. So let's talk about that experience. Tell me you've been using Node.js for 7 years. I don't want to go find it in the background. Don't tell me you've done this, that, and the other. Talk to me about what you know you can help me with right away. Believe
Exactly.
me, that'll open the door automatically.
Okay, thank you very much for that insight. So
Sure.
we are going to open up for questions. We have about 10 more minutes
Mhm.
before we have to end the
Sure.
webinar. So if you do have questions, please feel free to type them into the chat and we will answer them as best as we can. I have been told that there's a little bit of a delay on that, so I'm
No.
not going to worry yet that no one is asking us anything.
Well, I see some questions from early on. There was a Sujoy. I could be wrong. Oh, I don't know.
You know,
Let's see.
I did not scroll up. I apologize, everybody.
No problem.
Okay,
There you go.
so we had one question, yes. So how can we sell ourselves in 5 minutes?
Yep. Um, like I said, I'll imagine I was talking to you right now. I'd be like, "Hey, Courtney, thanks for coming. Thanks for attending the event. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Maybe take a minute and tell me about yourself." And you'll be like, "Hi, I'm Courtney. I work for VanHack. This is my role here. I have experience in this. I've been doing it for this company for over 6, 7 years. I'm a professional in this field, and my main let's say we were talking about your main skill is I'm an Angular developer, a senior at my current company. I have this many years of experience using this specific um, technology." And then I might be like, great, what other technologies do you know how to use? And you might jump into that as well. And then you might say, I've also used this database. And I'll be like, great, what is something that your company's building right now? And if I lead, if the person leading says, tell me about the kind of project you're working on, then go into it. You don't have to give me the code review and all that. Go
Mhm.
into like why we're building that, right? um, yeah, so that's one of the things. You can do it in 5 minutes, believe me. We don't need to know everything in 5 minutes. What we need to know is, do I want to interview? Do I think you'll fit in my company? And how is that the first thing you'll say? Well, how do I prepare for that? Let's just have a chat. Take your time. Um, if your English isn't that great, I saw somebody put that in there. Is intermediate practice? Yes,
Mhm.
intermediate could work. Just give yourself a chance to practice it. Have a mock interview, right? Have a mock interview. There's nothing wrong with having a mock
Exactly.
interview, right?
Okay, so an easy question for you, Billy. Is
Sure.
Stradigi AI going to participate in the next event?
I have to check when, but possibly, possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah,
I think you have some fans now of people who will want to be looking out for you.
guys, I'm telling you, I will keep pushing this platform to not just Strategy AI, but to other friends of mine in the business. I think more and more people are looking for solutions to be able to hire from abroad and from different, and it's a good way to help people, relocate to Canada,
Mhm.
and others for to really focus on finding top talent.
Exactly. Okay, so when the employer asks, what is your tech stack? How far back in the past is it recommended to go?
I would say don't go like more than 3, 4 years, right? I mean, what you did 5, 6 years ago, it's great. If you want to throw it in there, like what others tech, like I'll ask that in interview or on phone screens. I'll be like, what other technology stacks do you know, or what have you worked with? And you could be like, hey, like today I had a gentleman telling me, yeah, I've used PHP with Laravel, right? That's great. To me, it's like fantastic. Some stuff kind of correlates, right? We use Angular with TypeScript. Somebody was telling me about React with ES6, or EC, yeah, ES6, E6S. One of those two. I keep getting confused with that one. But again, it's cool if ever we take on a React project. I know that the team will probably remember that if you're working with us and be like, oh, hold on, let's go see Courtney. I think she played around with that once upon a time, right?
Mhm.
But please don't go back like 15 years. Some people will go back to me, and tell me, you know, 10 years ago, I worked at Microsoft and we were using this. And I'll be like, it's interesting. Guess who else is going to tell me that? Your CV. So once I get your paper, I'll see it. Right. But definitely tell me what you're focused on now, what you're an expert on now.
Mhm.
Right. One of my famous questions, anybody who's ever been in an interview with me knows, give me your top 3 skills. Top 3, you can teach me that skill. I hire you, you come in, you teach it to Billy and Courtney. That's what I want to know, because that means you can help me right away in those 3 things. The rest we can learn
Mhm.
along the way. Yeah.
Beautiful. So what is the most eye-catching thing you have seen in any of the intro videos on VanHack?
Uh, well, I think it's just somebody that's smiling, somebody that's happy to be there. I think it's a positive attitude, right? People that are like friendly, and your body, it says you resonate, right? So I even say this during my tests, so it's going to correlate if I send you a coding test or an exercise. I say I give you 5 days because I don't want you to be stressed out.
Mhm.
So during those videos, find 20 minutes or an hour when the kids are away or you're alone in your house, dog and cat outside, good lighting. Be happy. Be happy that you're there. Show me that you're there. And don't be shy to be like, I've even said in an interview once, I'm like, sorry, I'm a little nervous, right? That's okay. You're being human. You're saying, hey,
Exactly.
I don't do this every day. It's not,
Mhm.
I do this every day. You don't. So it's okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. This one's a bit interesting, and I really am interested to hear how you respond to this. So, is
Mhm.
it a red flag if someone says they're learning something not related to the job?
That's okay too. I mean, I've had
Hmm.
somebody tell me they played an instrument. It's interesting. I mean, I'll take it as a good answer because it's such a vague question. But definitely because we're trying to get, you're trying to get yourself hired, you will want to focus on like, some technology more than
Hmm.
anything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, so personally, so I want to kind of answer that. So if it's relevant to the conversation, definitely throw something in. Like, yeah, I've been teaching myself how to play violin.
Yeah.
It just makes you a bit more human. It makes you interesting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Of course.
So I think it's okay. You don't want to spend too much time on that,
Right. You're
but
not going to tell me how many courses you've taken and all, but
exactly.
you might also be honest and say, look, you know what? I've been really helping my team through a crunch
Hmm.
time, big deployment. Really been focusing. I really want to go back into perfecting my skills in Python, or AI machine learning is something that really does interest me, and kind of learning new things like NumPy and Pandas and stuff is the future. But I just haven't had the time right now. You're kind of answering that question by saying, well, this is the kind of stuff I
Hmm.
know. But yeah, I mean, I do see a question that I want to answer from a gentleman or somebody named Abid here. What most companies look for, I think it says breadth of knowledge or depth. It depends on the company, right? But definitely knowledge, like depth means what? Like I saw another question that somebody said, well, I don't have an education, but I have certification and I have years of like self-taught. Well, let me tell you, I've met people that are self-taught with like 5, 6, 7, some with 10 years of experience that can run circles in terms of coding around people with high educations, right? It depends the development state you're in. It depends the
Hmm.
company you're in and their nucleus within the environment, that dev environment. Some people flourish in big environments. Some people like working in small teams. Stradigi AI, smaller company. Where I used to work, 400 people on the Eng side, big environment. You're going to fit into a role, right? Um, so knowledge is key, right? To me, knowledge is key, right? Depth, I mean, how deep do you know the technology is important, right? If you tell me I know Angular, I give you, a certain piece of work, and you're like, well, I know it, but I haven't touched that, or, again, and it's expectation. You guys haven't even got there yet. Wait, VanHack should start
Hmm.
teaching classes on that, because there's that too. It's like, well, I'm this in my current company. Well, if I'm looking for a CEO role, I'm probably going to fail right now because I don't have those skills,
Hmm.
right? I might think I do, but I really don't, right? So it's always know where you fit in, and remember, where do you think you're going to shine? Do you think you want to work at a big corporation where you're employee 27 and just please code, and you like that environment because it's very structured, and that is the question of, is it knowledge or depth, right? Because smaller companies are willing to work more with people too, right? So yeah.
Hmm. Okay. I have one here that I think is actually quite interesting as well. So, in an interview, is it okay to highlight some improvements on the company's website?
Actually, we're redoing ours, and even where I was before, they were redoing theirs. So one thing I will tell everybody here, if you've ever owned a company, for those of you that might have joined in a startup, that I've realized over the last few years is companies are so busy trying to build their SaaS platform or their product, they don't even have time for their websites. I know it sounds crazy, right? But they really don't. Because I wish I can go back a few years and be like the talks we had about rebuilding my past employers' websites, right? Because they're so busy making money or delivering to their clients that they kind of sit back. Is it important? Sure, you could bring it up. You could be like, you know what? I noticed that the website, what stack is it? Oh, it was actually coded in Angular. Fantastic. You know what? Being an Angular expert, if I would love to even show you that I would change that. I would change that. That's one thing. I don't take it personally, but I'm not everybody. I would definitely say maybe don't point that out. Maybe say, can I share my Git to you guys? Like, can I show you some of my work?
Hmm.
Right? Rather than let me point out where you're going wrong. It's because at some point, unless you want me to hire you to rebuild my website, which maybe I'd say sure. What else am I seeing there, right? I would say focus on what your strengths are. And hey, if you get hired, please redo the website, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we are at time. So just very quickly, there's been a few people asking how they can apply as Strategy
Just
AI.
go on our website. Just go on our website
There
and
you
apply.
go.
Yeah. Go on our website and
Okay, thank
apply.
you.
I will not lie to you. I'm very transparent person. Obviously, we're a company in Canada, and anything within North America. Be mindful that these processes, if ever you're hired, take time. I wanna really engage in that. There's a lot of government involvement. So I joke around. I tell my CEO here, I want to hire everybody. I'll take everybody, right? But I can't. We have limited spaces. We have visas. We have so on and so forth. So always be mindful of that. If you are applying to Stradigi AI, be my guest. If you see that it comes back a message from me saying thank you, but unfortunately we can't hire you right now, it's also because A, either you don't fit in what we're looking for, and B, I just can't. I can't because the government does have quotas of how many people
Mhm.
you can hire, right? So be mindful of that because it's not just Strategy AI, it's every company. And again, this event isn't about Strategy AI or about me today, right? I think VanHack asked me to come on board to kind of give you the okay, what does the recruiter look at when they're hiring from VanHack? Because there's going to be other people like me at these events for their company. So that's why I always say, right? Just remember that. Like
Mhm.
there are limited spaces. How do you stand out? You just be yourself. Be true to yourself and just, relax. It's just an interview. I know
Great.
there's a lot more behind it, but don't overthink it.
Mhm. Okay, well, thank you so much, Billy, for coming. I really hope that everyone was able to gain some insights based on the conversation we've had today. I am sending a survey in the chat line. I'm also going to email it out, but if you could please do that, it just helps us to improve things
Hmm.
going forward. Like if
Pleasure.
I hit
Yeah.
send. And then somebody has asked me, I'll take this one. So in regards to VanHack coding challenges, is that a fair way to assess candidates and discount them from interview events? The companies have their own coding interview processes anyways. So in terms of the code challenges, those do not discount anybody from interview events. However, it is a good way just to make your profile look a bit more appealing. So they are not mandatory. It's a way to kind of boost your profile's visibility. Um, because yes, companies do have their own coding interview processes as well. So this is an optional step. It's not mandatory, but we do recommend doing it just because it does boost that profile visibility. So I wanted to take that because somebody had asked me to. And then if you did have any questions, I know we did not get to all of them, but you can definitely feel free to reach out to me on Slack. It's VanHack Courtney. So please send me some more questions if you wanted something specific. I will try to get back to you as quickly as I can.
I'm sure
Uh,
Courtney could even ask me some of them, and then I'll reply back to her. And to the coding challenge, yes, most companies will send out their own, but a
yeah,
lot of companies do look at how well you did as well, too, right? I mean, it's a culmination of everything, right? So just remember that,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Billy, for taking
Okay,
some
it was
time out of
awesome.
your day. Thank
Of
you,
course.
everyone, for coming. And we really hope that we will see you soon at our events. And fingers crossed that you will
Yes.
be offered a
Yes.
job.
Yeah. Hey, good luck to everybody, whether it's us or another company. You know, keep at it. Whatever you do, keep at it, and keep trying.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Pleasure. Thank you.